To Fulham, 3 straight defeats for Leicester as we start the new year, and Leicester threw everything at it during that second half. Barnes one-on-one with the goalkeeper, his lob saved by Bernd Leno. Vardy one-on-one saved. Jose Perez with a shot palmed away. Tielemans had the shot against the bar. He had one that was just wide as well. In fairness, Fulham could have sealed it at the death with Harry Wilson going through one-on-one with the goalkeeper, but he'd poked that one wide. But somehow it's another frustrating night for Leicester, as it was at Anfield a few days ago, and they lose here to Fulham by a 1-0. Tags, how do you sum that one up?
Pretty simple, John. First 15-20 minutes, you know, that was the undoing of Leicester. Just didn't get into the game when they needed to. Fulham were in the ascendancy in that first 15-20 minutes of taking the lead. Had a couple of more half-decent opportunities. Thankfully they didn't extend that lead. And then really after that it was all Leicester City. But as I just said before, in fairness, I said at half-time they need to show a little bit more self-belief when they're in that final third. We've seen it the other night at Liverpool when they had good opportunities and the final ball let them down. Tonight they had enough opportunities and enough shots on goal to win 2 games of football and still couldn't score a goal. So leaving with absolute frustration. Absolutely battered Fulham in that second half, but somehow Fulham, you know, have won the game. They've scored the goal, the only goal of the game, and that's been enough. And you know, sadly Leicester just haven't quite learned from that slow start.
All of the players gathered in the centre circle before they've gone off and applauded the supporters. Fulham players head into that far corner, their fans jubilant, the Leicester fans applauding the efforts of their side tonight. Of those Leicester players, Jerry, who gets your nod as man of the match?
Yeah, some decent performances in that second half in particular, but there's only one player that stood out tonight. He absolutely ran it, and I mean showed some great deft touches, use of the feet, his passing as usual at times was sublime, and that was the captain Vardy and Tielemans, absolutely superb in the second half.
The players are trudging off after defeat here against Fulham. Full time inside King Power Stadium. Leicester 0, Fulham 1.
Thanks, John. Yep, disappointing evening here at King Power Stadium for Leicester, falling to a 1-0 defeat to travelling Fulham. Tony Cotty, Matt Elliott and Jerry Taggart will join me for the next 20 minutes or so as we assess that defeat. I'll start with you, Tony. Yep, disappointing overall. I don't know how you saw that.
Yeah, I think Tag summed it up pretty nicely there, didn't he? I think that, you know, the first 20 minutes, Fulham, without a doubt, were the better team. Could have had more than the one goal that they got, albeit an excellent goal from Mitrovic. And it was a really, really disappointing start. I've tried to make a little bit of excuse for the boys, as in, you know, the Dewsbury Hall not starting incident, then Samari coming off. But overall, a really, really disappointing 20 minutes. After that, I felt Leicester were by far the better team. I know Fulham had a clear-cut chance at the end of the game, but apart from that, didn't really look like scoring a second goal. Leicester had chance after chance. I think I've written down 7 not clear-cut, but 7 good chances in that second half. Just didn't take their chances. You know, my prediction before the game, Dan, was 2-1, and really it should have been a 2-1 victory for Leicester, but you've got to take your chances. Football's all about, you know, we come up with all these sorts of stats and everything. The only stat that ever matters is the one that's always in the top left-hand corner normally, and that's the score. And unfortunately, you know, Fulham have done a real sort of cut and run tonight, haven't they? You know, they took their chance well, their goal well, and they've taken the 3 points, but Leicester should have got more out of the game.
Yeah, easily more shots, you can see at the bottom, more possession for Leicester, more shots on target, and they just couldn't put the ball in the back of the net.
Yeah, they've really turned that game in terms of stats on its head from half time. It was pretty much even Stevens, wasn't it? I think, you know, there or thereabouts, but which is, you know, sounded about right. The second half, yeah, one-way traffic pretty much. But, you know, part of that is because of the state of the game. You know, Fulham have set their stall out that way, but I do get the feeling that if Leicester had got that equaliser,
they'd probably gone on and won.
I'm not sure how much Fulham had in reserve to come back again. So, you can't put it solely down to that. You would think Fulham going as they are in the league and with the way they started the game, that they perhaps, sometimes the best way to defend a 1-goal lead is go and score another and see the game off a little bit. So, but they didn't really threaten to do that, did they? Apart from the Harry Wilson when Leicester were getting, extremely stretched. But a lot of huff and puff, wasn't there? And but you just got the feeling it wasn't going to. I don't know. I suppose a lot of people are like that. When being a bit negative, and especially after a couple of defeats, and you think, because there was a bit of frustration. There was some booing from the crowd.
It could have been to the referee. You don't know that.
Well, yeah, a little bit probably. Yeah, probably a mixture of both, to be fair. But there was none of that in the second half because they recognised players were giving their all. Yes, there were mistakes, passes that went astray a little bit, or pieces of play that could have been more refined, etc. But they could see they were giving it their all, and ultimately it wasn't to be. But they had a little bit of quality. I'll tell you one thing that surprised me is how much play Leicester had, and how many good situations have, and how few times Jamie Vardy. I said to you when we were sitting there watching it, how few occasions Jamie Vardy was directly involved. I know he had one great chance that ordinarily he would put away, so he'll be annoyed with himself. But it was all a little bit on the edges, wasn't it? In and around like the periphery, and Fulham forced Leicester to do that. But you would have thought on the balance of play and chances, and that Leicester would have got something out of that game, but quality just not good enough. Good defending by Fulham, good goalkeeping by Leno there, but it was a disappointing night. Disappointing. It's never good, is it? It's not a good sign losing 3 games on the trot, because it makes that next game in the league or the cup, whichever way you want to look at it, a little bit more difficult again, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, we'll talk obviously a little bit more moving forward-wise in a moment, Jerry, but we spoke yesterday, didn't we? We spoke before the game about taking confidence from the performance at Anfield, albeit not the result. Tonight, can it be the same again? I guess everywhere but being able to put the ball in the back of the net?
Yeah, well, you have to take something from it, Dan. We're clutching at straws here again, aren't we? But yeah, as I say, 20 minutes. That's the only part of the game, the only negative is the first 20 minutes. So 70 minutes of it was good. We spoke about the other night where they lacked that quality with the final ball, or a couple of times the finishing, and that was the case again. And I don't think that they had enough self-belief in them this evening in front of goal to score. That's just the sense I got. It's just, Jamie Vardy goes through. Good first touch, second touch, not out of his feet. It's under his feet, and he has to dig a shot out. Harvey Barnes had a chance where, again, first touch, not out of his feet, but to the side, stops the momentum. So those little things like that on any other given day, or when you're in top form and when you're absolutely buzzing, come naturally. And for whatever reason, it just didn't happen tonight in front of goal. That's the only criticism. It just didn't happen in front of goal. Some great play, and then obviously Fulham, for the majority of the second half, sit back, protect the lead, which they're going to do, and then they bring on an extra defender, take an attacker off, and they just absolutely throw men in the box, defend the box with 10 outfield players, what makes it even more difficult. To try and break them down when you're playing against a team that aren't trying to score, or just hit you on a counter-attack sporadically. So, again, there's not a lot else I can say. I can't pick the players out and say, well, they didn't try or they didn't give it their all, because they did. It's just that 20 minutes. It was just, again, defenders falling asleep and sloppy playing in the 15 or whatever minutes it was before that until they scored the goal. After that, as I said, some of the play was really good, sensational, some of it.
And just to pick up on what you were saying about the attacking play and some of the touches not quite being exactly where they were when you're in top form, that's probably the frustrating thing, Jerry, that they were in top form. The momentum was so good, wasn't it? Then the break came. Well, obviously, we can't blame the break. As Tony said before, everyone knew it was coming. But it's just annoying that, what was it, those 7 games had gone really well. Bang, the break comes.
Yeah.
Suddenly you lose that momentum. You lose that confidence in front of goal.
Yeah, but it's the same for everyone, Dan.
Yeah.
You know, it's as simple as that. Everybody's in the same boat. You know, so you can't always keep using that as an excuse. Yes, you could see there were fragilities at the beginning of the season. They've pulled themselves, you know, out of a deep, dark hole, in all fairness to them. And, you know, tremendous work to do that. And then how do you keep that momentum going? But, you know, you're adding insult to injury now, or injury to insult, should I say, because, you know, that injury list just keeps growing and growing. But they've got enough experience on the pitch. They've got enough quality on the pitch. It's not like they're just chucking kids in willy-nilly. You know, look, there's some good players in there that have got bags and bags of experience. And, you know, on another day, or any other given day, you know, can score at any time. And tonight, for whatever reason, I just don't think that the belief was there, you know, because there was enough good chances for at least one of those to go in.
Yeah, and speaking of the injuries that have obviously been added to tonight, we don't know yet, Tony, obviously the extent to which Kieran Dewsbury-Hall is injured and Bouba Samari is injured, but you just look at some of the players that we're missing: Daka, Evans, Justin, Maddison, Ricardo, Dennis Pratt, Ryan Bertrand. There's a lot of players already missing for Leicester, which is very frustrating. That in the last few seasons, injuries seem to have really hit Leicester hard.
Well, they have, and you know, it's been a problem, hasn't it, for a couple of seasons. I'm sure Brendan will be concerned. Obviously, we all want Leicester to progress in both the League Cup and the FA Cup. You know, important games coming up over the course of the next week or so. But you know, to play those games, you need your squad, and if you've got, as you've just reeled off there, Dan, you've got 7 or 8 players out. You haven't got the squad. You know, on the bench tonight there was a couple of youngsters and there wasn't the options. All right, Iheanacho comes on, you know, you try and change it a little bit. But normally a fit Leicester squad, you've got 5 or 6 options to come off the bench. So, excuse me, those options just aren't there at the moment. But, you know, injuries, they're part and parcel of football. And, you know, I don't think Brendan will moan about it too much. But, you know, inside he'll be thinking, you know, we can't afford to lose too many more players. There's a lot of games coming up. If you win the games, you know, the games against Newcastle, against Gillingham, you've then got even more games at the end of the month in both cup competitions. So it's certainly a worry, and we need some of those injured players to get back as quick as possible. Yeah,
it can never help, Matt, when you've got that many missing. That, as Tony was saying, a lot of those, well, would start, wouldn't they, really? Probably in a best Leicester 11.
A fair percentage would, wouldn't they, for sure. And, you know, obviously it provides stronger depth in backup as well, doesn't it? Although, you know, Jerry's right, they were experienced, you know, good quality professionals that were coming on tonight. But yeah, look at it. You know, Leicester's team has been reasonably settled of late, but it has been missing some big players. James Maddison in particular, isn't it? And a couple of other players not firing on all cylinders, I think it's fair to say. Probably include Jamie Vardy in that as well. But yeah, it's just not happening at the moment, is it? For this reason and that, and then there's another reason that's not quite working, and just got to stay strong. They've done it before. They've had difficult times before. You know, we've seen tonight, and we've seen against Liverpool as well. They're not a million miles off it. They're not in top gear by any stretch of imagination. No, we know that. You know, we know some of the reasons why, but those performances, that 20 minutes aside, as Jerry says, you know, that's got to be galling for them, and it's a little bit inexplicable as well, really. Newcastle, okay, yeah, that's not really forgivable, really. You know, they'll be berating themselves for the way
down in 7 minutes.
Exactly,
yeah.
The way they approached it, and game over. Newcastle pretty impressive, but we'll never know what might have been if Leicester had been at the races from the start. Liverpool, different kettle of fish, but then they reverted back, not back to type, but we're back to that Newcastle performance day with their opening 20 minutes. You can't let Kieran Dewsbury-Hall's injury unsettle you that much. And it was, you know, at home in front of a crowd. Guilty once, but once bitten, twice shy it should be. But people say, you know, they're going to learn from this and learn from that game, and what is it you're learning? Because you've done the same again there. Brendan Rodgers would be hugely frustrated at that, because it would have set a different tone to the game if they started like that, and Fulham would have been perhaps rocked on the back foot a bit of their confidence eroded, and who knows how the game might have gone. But you know, these little bits can cost you dearly, especially at this level of the game as well. You know, you see how tactical it is throughout the whole 90 minutes, isn't it? You know, I wouldn't say it was a free-for-all, but it was quite open in the second half of the first half, if that makes sense. But then after the break, Fulham were right. Okay, we're going to do a job here. And you know, from very early on, there were time wasting. They were going down, and etc. They were, you know, getting on at the referees, trying to stop and start and make it not free-flowing, and it just became a real struggle for Leicester, even though they had the majority of possession and had some decent chances, but you just felt it wasn't going to happen for them.
They did manage the game well, Jerry, in fairness to Fulham, didn't they? And that probably, well, you could feel the frustration growing around King Power Stadium amongst the fans at how well Fulham were doing that. And it's a part of sport, I guess. It's a part of football, the way they were doing it, the manner of which they were doing it, but it did work for them this evening.
But listen, all teams do it. You know, Leicester would do it if they were away from home and had a slight lead. They'd be doing exactly the same. So you can't make any qualms about that, or you can't moan about that, because everybody does it. I still think Leicester had enough chances, though. You know, even with all the, you know, them coming out, setting the stall out, as Matt said, in the second half, the time waste and everything else, they still had opportunity. There was some lovely play in that second half. There really was.
But like you said, Sags, there was an element of, they seemed to have that lack of real belief when it mattered.
That's, to me, that's what I sensed when I'm watching it.
It's like you needed an absolute golden opportunity.
Yeah.
Like an absolute sitter to fall in on your lap.
Yeah.
Other than that, it just didn't feel like it was going to happen. I mean, especially the only one I did feel was going to happen was Jamie Vardy when he got through. I was, you know, right behind it. So were you, Jerry. That angle, you think this is typical Jamie, and he's hit the keeper from there, and you think, oh.
He just couldn't. His second touch, his first touch is superb. His second touch, he's trying to just ease it again out of his feet, and it just grabs under his foot.
Yeah.
And he can't get any direction or power on the shot, so it's a straight shot at the keeper. If that second touch of out of his feet, that's going in the far corner. Bang, 1-1. And it's just those little moments and those little things that happen where you're just thinking, it's not our night tonight. It's gonna happen again, you know. And it's frustrating. It is frustrating for everybody, because some of the football in the second half was excellent. With a team that are literally just sitting back and saying, we're just going to defend the edge of our box.
Yeah, because I think where the ball ended up, Tony, and you'll know as obviously a striker, that he couldn't go across goal, as both Jerry and Matt have said there, which is probably what he would have wanted to have done.
Who's that, Dan? Sorry,
the Jamie Vardy chance, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm like the boys. I think when he got played through, it was a sensational ball through to him, wasn't it? I think, was it Tielemans, I think, or was it Perez who put him through? Nice little move, little play. And when he goes through, you just expect him to score. And that's a huge compliment to Jamie Vardy, because he's done it so many times. And, you know, I agree, but Tags has, you know, assessed it really well, and he's bang on with what he said. You know, he just didn't seem to get his feet in the right place at the right time. And, you know, going across him, I think you should always try to do that. But in the end, he didn't really do anything, really. He hit it straight at the goalkeeper. It was a decent save. But, you know, I thought, well, this is the one, because, you know, Matt touched on it. He was very quiet tonight, Jamie. He worked really hard, as he always does. He just didn't seem to be involved too much in the play. And you get games like that sometimes. As a centre forward, you're not doing anything different or anything wrong, but the ball just doesn't fall for you sometimes. And you're not, you know, it's all going on around you. The chances are going to someone else. And all of a sudden, you're thinking, give me the ball. I just want to have a shot. And then when you get it, sometimes you just don't get it right. And it was just unfortunate, but plenty of chances for Leicester, but they just didn't take them.
There was almost another Yuri Tielemans wonder goal, wasn't there, Tony? And we've seen that, well, Wolves, there was one, wasn't there? Obviously, Everton scored a ridiculous one. Nearly did here against Manchester City, and again, nearly did again here.
Yeah, and again with when it comes to Tielemans, the same as Jamie Vardy, really, he's produced it so many times, and particularly this season with some of his efforts, and when he gets it in a beautiful chest and then volley, and his technique is so bang on and so simple. He's so sweet, and I'm trying to describe it as I've described it before as a golfer. When you hit that sweet spot, Tags will know what I'm on about. I'm not sure Matt will too much on the golf course, but that sweet spot when you've got the driver and you ping one down the middle and it goes, and it just it goes and you've hit that sweet spot, and he does it all the time, Tielemans, and he's so good at it. And it was a wonderful strike, and again, they just needed that little bit of luck. I think sometimes you can just have games and forget the first 20 minutes, but beyond the first 20 minutes, don't forget Perez had the chance of the first half as well. Perez should have scored as well in the first half. And then you've got half a dozen at least chances in the second half. Just that little bit of luck. And, the strike from Tielemans, the one at Everton, it hit the underside of the bar and it's gone in. This one, it's hit the bar and come out, and it goes like that sometimes.
Can I just interject there? Tags, TC obviously doesn't know about me hitting the green on the 10th at the Belfry, does he? I just drop that in there, Tone, before we get back to
what about the hole-in-one, though, Matt? What about hole-in-one? Have you got a hole-in-one like Tags?
Has Tags got one?
I've got two.
There we go.
Hole in his pants, that's about it.
I've got a hole in my pocket.
Yeah, definitely got one of them.
Right, we need to rapidly move this on, I think, don't we? That's probably, again, Jerry, as we've touched upon, the frustration tonight. I think overall was the slow first 20 minutes, but then the missed chances. But I guess at least chances were being created.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Matt said this a bit, before the game we're talking about this would be a good matchup. Fulham will bring, they play a nice brand of football. They always seem to have an overlap out in the wide areas, and it seems to work for them. We talked about the quality in the Mitrovic, that was on show tonight for the goal. The extra man in the wide areas, the quality from that wide area, Mitrovic finish. And that's it. That was Fulham's. Okay, yeah. It wasn't just Fulham. Fulham had a couple of decent chances earlier on as well in that first half. But after that, Leicester took control of the game, had umpteen chances, played some really good football. So look, they can't walk off the pitch and go, well, the only thing they'll be frustrated with tonight is that they couldn't break the debt, or they couldn't score and get back on level terms at least. That's the most. Ask the little guy on Zoom. He will tell you the hardest thing in the world to do is score goals in a football game, and especially against a team that put 10 men behind the ball. And you have to take your opportunities when they come. And so that's the most frustrating thing. They had enough opportunities, they had enough shots on goal to win 2 games of football, in my opinion. And unfortunately, for whatever reason, it just didn't happen.
And that obviously goes without saying, adds to the frustration, Tony, because you think, as Matt was saying, if that Vardy chance goes in, for example, with half an hour to go, Leicester probably go on and win it. Even the Tielemans chance was about 10 minutes to go, wasn't it? There would have been nearly 20 with the added time that was on there. Could have gone on and even won this game tonight.
Yeah, I can't believe Tags has called me a little guy there. I've never been called that before, but I know what he means. The hardest goal, Dan, to get in football for any team is the first one. It always has and always will be. And by saying that, what I mean is if you get that first goal, you get the crowd behind you, you get a boost as a player, the confidence comes in. And then I'm not saying it's easier to get the second and third goals, because it's always hard to score goals, obviously, but it's just that little bit more difficult to get that first goal. But if you can get it, it makes such a massive difference, as we know. I think Matt said it earlier. I think if Leicester had scored, I think they would have gone on and got the winner, because there wasn't a lot there from Fulham. They had a game plan and they was professional. They'd done all the right things. I understand that. But beyond the first 20 minutes, Leicester were by far the better team. They just needed to get that first goal, and it just never came today. It will come on another day, but today it just wasn't to be.
So moving forward, obviously, Matt, there are the 2 cup games, Gillingham and Newcastle. after that, the first league game back in a week and a half is Forest away. That again is a very big game. Well, it was already going to be a big game regardless of
exactly.
where
But
the team's
the pressure's been piled on even more now, hasn't it? And listen, there'll still be not so faint memories of going there and losing it in the FA Cup. That is one game. I know we're looking a little bit ahead. That is one game Leicester cannot start slowly. You know, as it was last time round, the game at the City Ground, the game could be over before you know it. In between that, difficult selection issues really for Brendan Rodgers. I'm sure. I suppose this is where the break might come in. I'm going to say it semi-handily for Brendan, because I know he's got some players who featured in the World Cup who didn't get a fully fledged rest, obviously, but you know the players played to different degrees. But it might make him a little bit straightforward. Certainly in one of the games where he thinks, right, okay, if I'm going to rest a few players, I can do it there.
And we've spoken about the injuries as well, how many there are. So they've maybe got 9 days.
Yeah, you've got those injuries as well, longer to fix themselves. But also, he hasn't got to worry too much about overexerting the players because they've had that break. They haven't got that as an excuse. But I know there's a flurry of games coming up, and hopefully even more if they can get success in the next 2. But listen, any game on the back of 3 defeats, however they've come around, any game following that is difficult. And Gillingham will be watching this game tonight thinking, that's a result. Yeah, they'll be aware that Leicester are a threat, but that's good. That knocks the confidence a little bit, and they're going to try and cause an upset, so Leicester got to be steeled and ready. I've finished.
And you'll be there.
And I'll be there.
And you'll be there.
Unfortunately,
you haven't got it off yet, have you?
No. Tony's helping his lovely mother move house, and I've got the long straw or the short straw, whichever way.
Oh, you'll enjoy it. You'll enjoy that trip to Gillingham anyway.
Yeah, I'll give Tony a little wave on the way past.
Matt, remember what Martin O'Neill said? Leave early, don't be late. It's an early kick-off.
Yeah. I haven't listened to him on a few occasions this year, but I might do it the weekend, mate. Yeah.
Right, there's plenty more to come here on LCFC TV then over the coming days, including obviously that trip to Gillingham at the weekend in the 3rd round of the FA Cup. You can join us and Matt Elliott on Matchday Live. He'll be there from 11:30, so it's 12:30 kickoff. We'll be live from 11:30. We'll follow that with extra time where we'll assess the Gillingham game and also look ahead to the Carabao Cup quarter-final. What a tie that'll be, hopefully. Well, it should be anyway, away at Newcastle in the Carabao Cup quarter-final. And Matt Elliott and Jerry Taggart sat down with Robert Huth. You can listen to that full podcast wherever you get your podcasts. You can also watch it on YouTube as well. It's a very entertaining hour. Big thanks to Tony Cotty, to Matt Elliott and to Jerry Taggart for their company this evening. Obviously it ended in defeat for Leicester. A few positive signs, but overall a very disappointing evening. Thank you very much for watching. Good night.